This is Three Beards Media. Real talk, no filters, no scripts. From sports to culture, we say what others won't. Turn it up, lock in, because it all starts right now. Live from the AKC Andrew Downs Studios and powered by Revelton Distilling Company.
Edge of the sky, feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Trice's his name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar, cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends rise, this is our norm. We stand tall.
All right, we are live from the AKC Marketing Studio. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner and Cyclone great, the legend Marcus Fizer. Marcus, how are you?
Doing a lot better. Sinus has been, giving me the 1-2 all week, but we have gotten a lot better. Meds and eating right and hydrating. But man, I am a wimp when it comes to me getting sick.
Well, and you were telling me before the show started, this is an annual reoccurrence for you, and it doesn't matter whether you're retired or still playing. It's the same old, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Get around into spring officially hitting, and it always knocks me down. It gets really windy here. Like now, it's about maybe about 60, probably about right at 70 degrees. And, storms come in, it gets real windy and it blows up a lot of dust and it's just, be everywhere. And once it gets to my sinuses, it's just, my asthma and everything just takes a hit. So it always sets me back about this time. I need to get more proactive in putting on masks and stuff during this time.
Could you move to Hawaii? They probably have a little bit less dust there.
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
We have beaches in Hawaii.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really call that dusty environment like what you see out there in the middle of the desert. So we are again live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs. And normally we have with us Brent Big Play Curvey. Brent is at a draft party for a certain Alabama player that played, well, I think he committed twice to Iowa and ultimately played his did he play 3 seasons or 4 seasons? It must have been 4 seasons at Alabama, Caden Proctor. So Big Play is at that event tonight. Brent, how was your draft? Or Marcus, how was your draft party? Do you remember what that was like?
Gee, I didn't have a draft party.
You didn't?
No, draft parties and stuff weren't big then.
Huh.
They weren't big then. I know we were in Minneapolis a couple days before. A lot of family and stuff was up, especially a lot of family from Iowa. So that was important to me. I had some close friends in the city of Minneapolis. So no, didn't have a party. Had a party after the draft. After the draft directly to, like a little party or a little dinner and stuff with the family, but it wasn't, like a big sit down or the next day we were flying back to Chicago, press conferences and all that. And, later that week I was, down at the facility training.
Did you pay for the meal?
Of course I paid for the meal. Pay for
the check
damn everything that was going on there.
The bill came and they looked at you and said, well, number 4 draft pick.
That was already predestined. I hadn't gotten any NBA checks. I had like trading card deals and shoe deals and stuff that had already been signed in advance and stuff from that. So that was pretty well. We're able to take the family on a few trips and things, and get ready for the living and the season and stuff. But no, you don't get paid until the season began.
Well, a lot has changed since our last show a couple weeks ago. Saturday, I went down to the spring showcase, and before then, there was this massive rummage sale that Size Locker Room had. I looked for the infamous golden yellow hat with a
Mm.
with the eye on it. Did not see any of those, but they had a ton of stuff. That place was absolutely packed. The line to check out, I kid you not, Marcus, was 45 minutes long.
They didn't put anything online. They should have put stuff online.
Well, they wanted the fans that were attending the spring showcase
Oh,
to be able to
okay.
buy all this stuff, and so it was rummaged through, and just like savages, fans are there just going through stuff and taking off racks, and people are carrying in boxes to be able to throw all this stuff into and then go to the checkout. How long would you wait in line for Cyclone gear?
As long as it takes.
You would?
If I was a fan, oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't get much Cyclone much Cyclone gear and the stuff out here as it is. So if I see it, I'm going to pick it up. It doesn't matter. I think I was in the thrift store a little while back. I mean, a couple years ago, I think I showed you guys whatever it was, and it didn't fit me. I still purchased it. Put it on the wall. I have it as part of my, my little collage or whatever what you call that, what you got behind you. I'm trying to build my, Cyclone wall up like that. So got a little way.
Cyclone wall of crap. No.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff back home at my mom's place. So if I dig through that, I'll be able to. Once I once we figure out what our forever home really going to be, the kids are out, they're graduated and going to school and things like that, then I'll start focusing on that. Maybe I can get a place with a basement.
Well, I went to the spring game or spring showcase they called it, and a lot of fun. So all the fans were seated on one side of the stadium on the east side in the lower area. I would say there are probably 5,000 to 6,000 fans that were in attendance on that. Let me turn down the volume just a tad. And they came out and did some drills. They treated it a little bit like a pregame warm-up and did a lot of that before they went into some different various scrimmages, and we saw some one-on-one actions, and here's some video that I shot just with my phone of some of the plays. I think some general observations, and I wanted to have Brent on to get his input on it, but had offensive line, defensive line. I think that was something that I noticed was a little bit different this year, that a little smaller maybe than what we've been used to in years past. But I think that's something that should probably be expected in this very first season. I know that Coach Rogers and staff have been recruiting these massive guys that seems like they're all 6'5", 6'6", 320 plus. So we got some kids coming in, but these guys look a little bit smaller, but maybe, if anything, more agile. On the defensive end, remember, we're changing over from the 3-man front to the 4-man front, and a couple things that I noticed there. I wouldn't say that they were great. I did see some positives in there. Believe it or not, there was one where they rushed a linebacker up and blitzed, and I think I've got that here on video. So they treated this a lot like a regular. Here we go. Oops. They treated it a lot like a regular, and you can see the blitz linebacker coming up there on that run play. So they were doing some things that you might see in a game to try to test things out, and you can see some semblance of some talented players that are out there that it'll be exciting to see what that looks like in the fall. I think in the middle there on the line, there were some disruptors on the defensive end that I saw. There were some plays where some holes were open, but other times they were not. On the defensive line, though, there was a couple plays where I turned around and thought, where did that guy come from? Well, it was a big guy getting up. And I thought that's a good sign that if you can have someone plugging up that middle that can penetrate in and disrupt that running back, that's going to be good, I think, for the team long term to have that type of player, that type of talent out there, um, out on the field. That's going to, if you have that defensive pressure coming in, that's going to make your linebacking core better. That's going to make your defensive backs better, because you got a quarterback then that's got to try to throw that ball in out of rhythm when they're not wanting to do that. So those are some good takes. I also felt like on the defensive side, and I think Brett kind of alluded to this, that we should expect to see the defense maybe have a little bit of a leg up on the offense, and I think we saw a little bit of that on Saturday. The linebacking core and the defensive backs were very aggressive. I think that when we were playing that 3-man front under Coach Heacock, that the defense would sort of come back and let you catch the ball in front of them. There was a lot of contesting of passes across the entire scrimmage that I saw. So that's something I think that a lot of Cyclone fans are going to see as a positive thing, to be able to see some of the defensive pressure that we haven't been accustomed to in years past, just because of the style that was being played by that defense. From an offensive running game perspective, I noticed that a lot of the runs, and I don't know if it was just because it was the spring game, but pretty much were between the tackles. So I think Coach Rogers has been preaching about physicality, and we've had players that have come on that have kind of talked about the physicality that's being preached. That is something that we did see on both sides of the ball on Saturday as well. So some nice things to see. Were there things that you were hoping that we would see that I could try to help answer in terms of offense or defense, Marcus?
Well, no. I mean, at this point, being the fan that I am, the fan we're going to have to be this year, it's definitely going to have to be a rebuilding year that we know. We just don't know what to expect. We are going to need, the Marcel Howard size guys, and shout out to Marcel and Nigel Tharp, if you remember those guys. Shout out to some of the old fellas when I was there. But we're going to need those size guys in the Big 12. We understand that and we know that. Not to take anything away from these guys that we have in now. We know Coach Rogers and the staff is really working hard to restore what's been the norm at Iowa State for the last couple of seasons. And we're going to get back to that point. We just got to have that confidence and the belief that it's going to occur. But at this point, it's Marcus Fizer going to Iowa State as a freshman, not knowing what to expect. Going to take a lot of L's, a lot of upperclassmen that's going to show you the ropes and show you what you need and what you need to bring in the next couple of years to be successful. And these next couple of years is what we're going to see and determine where we stand, and we just got to be patient.
You talk about those big Marcel Howard types. Do you remember Bill Marsaw?
Yes. Okay.
So he was on Saturday night, the athletics department hosted Cy's House of Trivia. So had a chance to go to that, and he was at our table. It was kind of nice. I felt bad for him because he quit playing, or he ran out of eligibility the season before the Inside.com Bowl. So here he is. He puts in 4 years. He was one of McCarney's original classes that was being recruited. In fact, he may have been the first signee for Coach McCarney. Plays out his 4 years, and then they end up going to that bowl game that they won. So I think he was kind of bummed out, but he's now a DVM, a vet, does a lot of traveling around the state, working with a lot of production animals. So it's kind of fun to see some of those guys at the Cy's House of Trivia. Quarterback play, I know that's something that I think a lot of fans are curious about. Since Rocco Beck is now playing at Happy Valley, but Jalen Rayner, the transfer from Arkansas State, was there. He looked good. I got to say, I'll be curious to see how this battle plays out. So I saw Zane Flores. He's a kid that transferred in, I think, from Oklahoma State. He throws a really, really nice ball. And so that one video, the first video that I showed where there was that long pass, I
Hmm.
believe that was Zane Flores that threw that. Was impressed by him, just his throws and his accuracy. And of course, local kid Connor Moberly looked good as well. Both of them throw nice balls, have higher release points. I'll be curious to see. Jalen Rayner is probably the more natural athlete. He's got 3 seasons under his belt, and he can throw the ball. He's got a little bit of a lower release point, but he's got that agility, right? He's mobile. He can run. All three quarterbacks that I saw play showed some mobility as well, so they're fairly comparable. Though I think Rayner's definitely the one that's a little bit more mobile, and um, Coach had talked a little bit about that he's seen a lot of positives out of all three quarterbacks, and that it should be quite the battle over the summer and into the fall camp. Another thing that I noticed, actually, Chris Shipley was there. We sat next to each other watching the spring activities, and the team will be much more under center than in years past. I think we would take a 4th and 1, and instead of going under center, we would take it from the shotgun or from the pistol. I saw more under center during the spring game than I think I have seen in the last 4 years in all games combined. If that tells you
Hmm.
something.
Well, well, it looks like that's one of the biggest changes that they're focusing on. I mean, again, but this is a spring game, so we don't know, if they like what they saw, or if they didn't. Practicing and getting into this point right now, a lot of things will definitely change before they suit up in August.
Well, and new offensive coordinator Tyler Roll was interviewed after the spring scrimmage, and he basically said, I'm happy with the results, but I'm not satisfied with the results. So I took that as a
Right.
positive. We saw some good things, but it's really an incomplete. These guys have only been together for a few months, and they've had 15 practices together. So uh, I'll be curious to see what we look like this fall.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, but we gotta be patient and understand what we're up against, what we're dealing with. Definitely realize it may not be pretty early, or it may be promising early, and we get too high, we get to that Big 12, and we know what that conference is like. So we just got to take the bitter with the sweet, understand what it's going to be or what it could be, and just hope for the best.
Speaking of the football season, did you hear that Iowa State picked up not necessarily a win, but it was a vacated win by Iowa. So technically, they have not beaten Iowa State in now 5 straight seasons. Did you hear that
No,
news?
what? No, what? Why was it vacated?
This has probably been 2 weeks now, but Cade McNamara, there was some illegal contact that was made by the Coach Ferentz and his staff. Then that the NCAA came down and required Iowa to vacate four wins at the beginning of, I think it was a 23 season. One
Mm.
of which was a victory over Iowa at the time. So now we can say that Iowa has not beaten Iowa State in 5 seasons. Do you take
Mm.
that as a victory?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. I mean, rules are what the rules are. I mean, if it goes for me, then I'm going to definitely take it. If it goes against me, there's nothing I can do to change it either. So, absolutely should have done it the right way.
That's right. NFL draft news. The big citrus, Dom Orange, drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. 18th pick in
Congrats,
the
yeah.
third round. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
82nd overall. Guy's 6'2", 322. I found it interesting that the Vikings, their first round pick, they picked a kid out of Florida who's another massive human being, 6'6", 320 is himself. Um, I, I'll be curious to see if the Vikings plan to play both of them up front together, or if there'll be more rotational. I'd love to have two massive human beings playing for the Cowboys interior line. I'm sure you would I'm sure you would for the Raiders and Saints.
Yeah, absolutely. For my Saints and my Raiders, definitely, we're promising. Got two, the number one pick Mendoza, and then we got Tyson down in New Orleans. So hopefully those two first round top 10 picks can move the needle for us a little bit and make some things happen.
What is, that was the worst kept secret. I mean, Mendoza going to the Raiders was a foregone conclusion. I
Right.
assume that's looked at favorably. I didn't realize he's so big. He's like 6'5".
I didn't either. But he looks like he's a good kid. Got his head on the shoulders the right way. Really looking forward to the things that he's going to do here in Las Vegas and make some big time plays. They're definitely going to throw him into the fire. There's nothing wrong with that. The hit's probably going to be a little bit different than he's accustomed to. So hopefully he can get accustomed to that shortly on. But there's sky's the limit. There's nowhere to go where we've been from here but up. So let's see what happens.
And then we've got some signees here after the draft. So players that were undrafted, obviously you get an opportunity to test the waters and really pick your team. That was one of the things that Brock Purdy, as Mr. Irrelevant, didn't get that luxury, but then it really worked out well for him. But a lot of times for players, you get that chance to sort of pick where you want to go, the ideal situation. So Dylan Barrett, offensive. So 4 offensive linemen are with teams. Dylan Barrett with the Packers, Jim Boniface with the Miami Dolphins, who they were the ones that drafted Caden Proctor, where Mr. Curvey is hanging out tonight at the celebratory party. Tyler Miller is going to be joining the Denver Broncos in their camp. James Neal with the Houston Cyclones.
The Houston Cyclones, baby.
Another one. I think that'd be great.
That's fun time.
Yeah. Running out of Houston uniform numbers I got to get. And then Tyler Moore with the tight end with the Carolina Panthers is going to get a look. So 5 more Cyclones getting some opportunity with the NFL to be able to check it out and see if they can stick with the club. And if anything, they'll either surprise and take somebody's roster spot, or maybe they'll be put on the team some way. Yeah, practice squad, have a chance to develop a little bit, and you just never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, a lot of times, like the quarterback from Alabama that got selected by the Rams, he's going to be, backing up Max Stafford, even though he was a high pick, first round pick. And so, if younger guys are able to be a high draft pick and back up a vet, some guys that are unrestricted free agents that coming in, hopefully they can be able to do the same on the practice squad as they learn the pros and learn how to be productive. And maybe it's a guy that's, a little bit older that's, get ready to exit and they're able to step in and be productive.
Sean McVay did not seem overly excited about that draft pick, though.
You didn't think so?
He didn't. He just seemed at that press conference afterwards like he was mad.
Oh, I got to see the press conference. What do you think about it?
Well,
think they took him a little high?
It feels like it was a little bit high. Simpson's only played 15 games with Alabama. Now you're talking about an SEC team that is probably can compete, because it's hard to say that about a high-end college team with a professional team. You've been there, right? College is different than the pros. But he comes from a good program. You got to think that he's got some talent. I didn't see it in the first round. I guess in my mind, and I sent a message through our text chain, anymore, the successful quarterbacks, and I'm not talking running back or some of the other positions, but quarterback in particular, it just feels like you need more seasoning at the college level before you hit the NFL. And 15 games just doesn't feel like enough. You look back in the recent history in the last 10 years, it's pretty rare for a kid to not play very much in college and then to be successful right away in the NFL.
Well, I guess the good thing is he's just not going to have to play right away.
Yeah.
I can literally see, especially if Matt Stafford has the season that he had last year, and his back holds up or his body holds up. I can see Matt trying to do this thing more than 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the way he slings it, you know, and you know, his leadership and everything like that, and they were a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl, and you know, a lot of people would have even still had them favorites against the Patriots, like they had the Seahawks favorites against the Patriots. So I can see, you know, him getting a couple years of, you know, sitting behind a NFL star, learning the ropes, like a lot of, you know, Jordan Love and some other guys did behind Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see. You know, we'll see.
Do you think
I'm curious? I'm curious to see about that. I'm curious to see about that press conference. I didn't see it. I'm definitely going to Google it now, though.
Do you think Simpson's ready? If Stafford,
I didn't see him much. I didn't see him much. I didn't see him much. I'm not a crazy Alabama fan. You know, I like, a lot of people don't like the state of the collegiate sports right now. I particularly do. You're not going to get me to sway one way or the other of how I'm in love with the NIL, because it definitely changes the dynamic of college sports across the board. I love being able to see the smaller programs being able to compete now a lot higher than they did before. Alabama was just, you know, it was Kentucky in basketball. Go to Alabama, you're going to the NFL. Well, you still get a lot of players that go to Alabama that's going to the NFL now, but they're not dominating college football. Like Indiana University won the national championship for the first time ever, you know, this year.
It's weird to say. It's weird to hear you say
that. And then had the number one overall draft pick. So I love seeing that be the cause. So I didn't really follow Alabama a lot. I saw a lot of other schools play, and I really don't know. You know, like you said, he only played 15 games. I have no idea why. You know, what was the reasoning? I know they struggled a little bit early, not the typical wins or the typical losses Alabama normally have, but then, you know, the head coach just got an extension. So it is what it is.
Well, yeah. And I'm not saying he's not worthy. It just feels like a guy that's only played 15 games.
Mm-hmm.
A quarterback needs more seasoning. Now, let's turn that around. You look at Dominic Orange, and the guy's massive. That he proved he was taking double and triple teams the last two seasons. You know that guy's going to be a stopper in the middle for – it doesn't matter who he goes and plays with. Right. So I think he's going to see a lot of success in the NFL. I just think a quarterback is just a little bit of a different change that – you know, you just need more reps. You need to be able to see that defense, read those defense. And this is where having someone like Brent that really understands the complexities of the NFL and, you know, the game in the NFL would be helpful to have on. But that's just me. You think of like guys like Raiders, Jamarcus Russell, another 1-year wonder in college. There's the NFL has just had a ton of those guys, and they just don't seem to play very well or see much success once they get there if they've only had one season at the college level, no matter how well they played.
Well, I wonder if a lot of that with Jamarcus had to do with personal reasons and stuff like that, because he was definitely a talent. His size, his arm strength, you know, he could really throw the ball and all of that. He was dealing with a little bit other different things that, you know, that every individual don't deal with. And we don't know what this kid could be. Everyone is going to have baggage. It can be good luggage. It can be bad luggage. It can be Samsonite. It can be Louis Vuitton. You just never know what the package is going to be once you open it up.
Well, and I think he liked drive-thrus as well.
No, they probably had it. They probably delivered to him before DoorDash.
All right, let's take a break. I want to talk about the Audi Crooks $1.4 million. So we'll come back on the other side and talk a little bit about women's basketball, and we'll talk a little bit about Cy's House of Trivia.
Buying or selling a home is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. That's why choosing the right real estate team matters. The Jenny Farrell team with RE/MAX Concepts has been helping families across the Des Moines metro find the right home since 1998. Born and raised right here in the community, Jenny understands the neighborhoods, the market, and what truly makes a house feel like home. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading your space, or preparing to sell, the Jenny Farrell team provides expert guidance every step of the way, from market analysis and listings to negotiations and closing. Their consultative approach means you'll feel confident, informed, and supported throughout the entire process. Jenny Farrell Team, RE/MAX Concepts. Call or text 515-779-7500. Visit jenniferfarrell.remax.com. Experience you can trust. Results you can move into.
In the heart of Des Moines, one name stands above the rest. Step inside, where tradition still matters. Warm, familiar, unmistakably Iowa, where every guest is welcomed like family. Service that's personal and never rushed. Fresh starts made daily. Iowa beef, hand-seasoned. Guided by fire, built on flavor. Served with pride. A bar as bold as the menu. Featuring the old-fashioned we're known for. A place that stays with you long after the night ends. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines. Steak done right.
Gentlemen, let's be honest. Finding the perfect gift for your wife or girlfriend isn't always easy. You want something thoughtful, stylish, and unique. And that's exactly what you'll find at Styled by JJ Boutique. Julia Bradshaw and her team strive to be your go-to boutique for casual, boho, and chic clothing and accessories, helping women elevate their style one piece at a time. Located right here in Johnston, Iowa, Styled by JJ brings trendy, high-quality fashion that boosts confidence without breaking the bank. So, if you're looking for a gift that says, I get you, instead of I tried, head to Styled by JJ Boutique. Because nothing makes her smile like feeling beautiful. Styled by JJ Boutique, where style meets confidence. Visit our Johnston location or shop online at styledbyjjboutique.com.
Not every animal gets a fair shot. But that's exactly what Animal Lifeline of Iowa is here to change. Since 1986, they've been stepping in for the ones who need it most. Injured, abused, orphaned, and special needs cats and dogs across Iowa. This isn't just a shelter, it's a lifeline. As Central Iowa's only no-kill shelter dedicated to special needs animals, they provide life-saving care, rehabilitation, and the opportunity for every animal to find a forever home, no matter how long it takes. But here's the deal. They can only save as many lives as the community supports. So get involved. Donate online. Hit up the Animal Lifeline thrift store, where every purchase fuels their mission. Or, better yet, find your next best friend and adopt. Because every tail wag, every purr, starts with someone like you. Animal Lifeline of Iowa, where we provide much-needed TLC and a safe space until they find their home.
Freight brokers and shippers, are you tired of drowning in emails, spreadsheets, and endless manual work? Introducing USFX, your AI-powered private freight command center. Simply email your PDF rate confirmation or bill of lading to intake@us-fx.com. In seconds, our AI captures every detail, sets up your shipment, verifies carriers, and launches a live digital workflow. No IT setup, no delays. Build your private carrier network instantly. Send bids only to your trusted partners and watch real-time tracking handle everything from pickup to delivery. Cut the friction, boost your margins, scale with ease. USFX, the smarter way to move freight. Visit us-fex.com today and get your free demo. Start transforming your operation. Let's be honest. Pizza is something almost every family enjoys. You're already grabbing one at the store. So why not choose the best tasting pizza that also supports a cause we all care about? That was the challenge behind We Will Pizza. Create the ultimate frozen pizza for Cyclone fans. Big flavor, bold toppings, and options for everyone, including gluten-free choices that don't sacrifice taste. And if you haven't tried it yet, the real MVP? The breakfast pizza. Perfect for early kickoffs, tailgates, or watch parties when Hilton Magic or Jack Trice Energy is calling. Every bite helps benefit Iowa State student athletes, so your game day spread does more than just taste amazing. It gives back. We Will Pizza. Made for Cyclone fans, built for tailgates, and ready whenever you are. We will, you will, Cyclones will.
All right, we are back to Inside the Store. Marcus Fizer, I just want to say that Chris put together the commercial loop, so then that way we don't see each other in between commercials, so that really works out well, puts them all back to back. But we do want to announce who the We Will Pizza Performer of the Week, or actually it's Performance of the Week. And this is one that it's easy to pick, but it's the Iowa State Women's Golf. They have won the Big 12 Women's Golf Championship down in Dallas this weekend. The Cyclonitas, they did it. It's their first conference title since, there we go, let's add it. It's the first conference title since 1993 when they won the Big 8 championship.
Nice.
The individual title was tied this year by a Cyclone. So Nikakorn Pinprayun was co-leader for this year's Big 12 championship. So congratulations to the women. You know, I think a lot of times some of these sports don't get enough recognition, and we certainly want to do that here. So congratulations to the Iowa State women's golf team for their first Big 12.
I need one of those shirts.
Yes.
They probably don't make them big enough.
Women find out on Wednesday where they go to play NCAA regionals that start on May 11th. So hope everyone will follow the women's golf team. Pretty exciting to have the Big 12 champions come out of Ames, Iowa.
Maybe they play here in Vegas. It's like 450,000 golf courses here. Like I could ride in different places and just look. I don't know if it's a golf course over there.
How many golf courses do you think Vegas has? Because one thing too, you got to keep in mind, you got to have enough water to keep feeding that grass.
It's a lot. I'm actually we'll look it up, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
All right. So before we headed to the break, Audie Crooks had announced through her socials that she has selected Oklahoma State to finish out her career, and there's been some speculation about the amount. One of those is that we've seen out there is $1.4 million to play one season in Stillwater. I don't know that it's worth it to play there for 1.4 mil, but nonetheless, if that is the actual rate, that's tough to turn down, isn't it? Especially when the entire roster in Ames isn't going to make $1.4 million.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in love with it. Congratulations to Audie for being able to garner that kind of a paycheck, if that is what she gotten. Appreciate everything that she's done for the program and everything she was for us. I'm not gonna, harbor any kind of hold any kind of hard feelings against her. She's been phenomenal and she's earned it. Whether it's another program in the NCAA or going to the pros or whatever, come what may. She's put her body through what she's put her body through, and mental and all of the physical toil that comes along with it. And if they were able to give her that kind of a paycheck to set herself up, we don't know, what the future holds for her. So $1.4 million is going to do a lot for her and her family and everything going forward. Absolutely. Cut the check. Get the bag.
Get the bag. Addie Brown.
Hopefully we get them, give them L though. Of course, for that, definitely. Hopefully we get them L.
So there is speculation that based on the rotation that Oklahoma State will play in Ames this season. So,
well, that happens, definitely will root against not her particularly, but definitely rooting for a W against the Oklahoma City women's basketball team. Oklahoma State women's basketball team.
Hypothetically, could you have seen yourself transferring to another Big 12 school yourself?
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. After my junior season and NIL was around, and $2, $3, $4 million would have been coming up instead of the NBA draft, it would have been hard to turn down. Absolutely hard to turn down. I left Iowa State to go, for the millions, and there's just a different situation to be faced with
you went to the next level.
A kid.
I mean, you went to the freaking NBA,
But had I gone to I would have definitely finished, my college career had it been that type of thing, in the makings for athletes to earn, millions and stuff. That if I was going to make the same amount of millions that I was going to make as a rookie, and I can grow and be an older, individual and growing into an older man in college, I absolutely would have stayed. A lot of people think I got paid at Iowa State while I was there.
Well,
and while I left.
You got dorm food. You got your pizza pit.
We didn't get dorm food. They didn't want us to eat in the dorms. The dorm food was better than taste wise. Obviously, it wasn't better for you nutritionally, but going across the street to get training table was, oh my God. I can remember to this day how nasty and bland the pancakes were. It's just to this day, that's why I don't like Belgian waffles in the whole, because it puts me right back there.
Okay. Eddie Brown is heading to UCLA. JD Williams to LSU. Eiley Tanky to Nevada. Not Nevada, but Nevada. Reagan Wilson is going to Toledo. Lily Talaleo is going to Rice. Reese Beatty to Mississippi State. That's, again, the one that I'm a little surprised at. Wish she would have stayed in Ames. Elisa Williams is headed to Indiana, as well as Kenzie Hare is going to finish her career at Indiana. So the two of them go as apparently a package deal.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast of what we're dealing with now. We lost some players, and we're going to get some players in, and we keep this thing moving.
Also on Saturday, it was a busy weekend between the rummage sale before the game, the 45-minute line, of course, the scrimmage and football activities, and then that night was Cy's House of Trivia, so that was a lot of fun. They basically have Hilton Coliseum set up, and this is not a very good picture. Probably should have taken one that showed all the tables, but there's, 100, 120 tables that are out there with basically 8 participants at each table, and you act as one table through a trivia series of questions throughout the evening for different prizes and awards. And really, it's just an opportunity to get some donations back to the Iowa State Athletics Department. But it is a tremendous amount of fun. You get food and drinks all night long. A lot of fun. This is a picture of my son with none other than your buddy Blake Buchanan, who was there. Blake was, I should note that they take the players, the coaches, folks that are in the admin, the administration, they're basically walking around all night long, and they'll sit at your table and they'll rotate around all night for 10 questions. Yeah, a little bit like speeding. And they're the celebrity, right? So hopefully they have all the right answers. So that was one that we had Bill Marcel. And the problem with that is that Bill was sitting with a different group for all of the, there was a series of medical questions. And we're not very good on that. Fortunately, my son is going to school, and he's going to be going to DMU in the fall. So he has a little bit of that. But it would have been helpful having a DVM right there to be able to help out. So we had a lot of fun. Here's a picture with, and I gush about Evangelina Polk on the women's team. So she was at one of the other tables, and I grabbed my son. I said, "Hey, take a picture if I can grab her for a second." So
nice shirt. We got to get Ox in one of those shirts.
Yeah. So it was fun to see some of the players. Here's one with Jamie Pollard was at our table as well. So that was a lot of fun. He was the celebrity for the songs. So there was a segment of nothing but songs that we had. One of the other segments or categories was movies with one name.
Heat.
So that is there a movie called Pete?
Heat.
Oh, Heat. Not one. Scarface was one. I'm trying to think. Dave, the movie Dave was one.
Twins.
What's that?
Twins.
Not one.
That wasn't
one that we had. So a lot of fun had by all on Saturday night at Side's House of Trivia, but it was interesting. So we're talking with Blake Buchanan, and I asked him. So he was chumming it up with my son, and I just asked him, "So who is the best player that you played against this season?" You want to take any guesses as to who that was?
Who the best player he played against as a one-on-one, as a person that he defended, or on a team?
On a team.
Who?
Plays for BYU.
Oh, it got to be Devonsa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who I saw announce that he was going to enter the NBA draft, and I think we all saw that coming when we saw him play against Iowa State. That guy, immensely talented.
I saw Darius Acuff be on ESPN and announce it. I'm like, what the hell is this? Who thought he wasn't they might as well just tweet it. Shocker, you're not coming back. Right.
Oh, no.
Right. So, I can see that. The kid is really, really sound. Like I said, I seen him play in Vegas as a sophomore and junior in high school. And he's going to be into shoulder then that he just kept growing. He's going to be the number one pick. I know there's a lot of he's going to be the number one pick. I think Boozer is going to fall a little later than what people expect.
Really?
Because I think it's going to be a lot like the Melo Ball was supposed to go maybe 1 and then 2, and he fell to 3, even though that's not a fall. But I know him and Lonzo went back and forth a lot about him being number 2 and then him falling to 3. But I think when a lot of teams see Darius Acuff in for the workouts and stuff like that, he's really going to move the needle. But they're still going to be top 5. I think the top 5 is going to be Devonsa, Peterson.
You think Peterson's 2 or just somewhere in the top 5?
I think Peterson's 2. I think Peterson is going to. It's again, it's the whole once you see him in person, you never know what really went on behind the scenes of why he didn't play that much. But when you really see him play, he is a pro. You don't want to say much. We say a lot about Anthony Edwards having a lot of MJ mannerisms. This kid looks like Michael Jordan when he moves, the way he comes off screen. You kind of remind me of Kendall Gill too. The OG I played with, Kendall Gill. And we noticed, people used to joke that he used to do a lot like MJ. We used to call him plus 10. He was number 13, so we always called him plus 10 because he would always act like MJ. But he moves a lot like him, like super athletic.
Very smooth.
Real smooth. Super athletic, can play basketball, knows how to play. And I think Acuff is going to go either 3rd or 4th. I think Boozer is going to go either 3rd or 4th or 5th. But Caleb Wilson, he's going to be in the midst of that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be Devonsa, Peterson, Wilson, maybe Acuff, and then Boozer, or those two interchange.
See, and I
for the top
might
five.
move Akoff above Peterson and Boozer above Peterson. And I know it's all about teams and what you're looking for,
Right.
right? And mix,
hmm
but I don't know, just for the teams that I saw this year, I don't know. I wasn't that impressed with Peterson. I think there's still questions out there, but what do I know?
But that's the thing. That's the thing. My thing, and I love. Listen, I've been knowing Cam since he was a little boy. Me and Carlos had the same agent, so I've been knowing them and the family. I've coached against them, the twins, when Marcus Jr. were in high school and everything like that. So I've been seeing these kids for years. I don't think he has the athleticism many teams hoped he has. Of course, he can jump and dunk and all of that, but we talking about the athleticism of Devonta and Wilson. And it's just a different level of the athletic. Even with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is, he comes down the lane, he's going over the top of someone. And then once you get on this level, everybody, Şengün is 6'11" and can jump and dunk and block shots and things like that. So all that stuff matters. I know he can shoot the three. Can he shoot this three as consistent as those other guys can do it? So I think that's going to be the thing that moves the needle for them. But the athleticism as Akoff and Peterson and as guards that can change the dynamic of your whole overall team, I think that's what's going to slide it in. But, top five is top five. So it's not going to be that much difference in the money.
In talking with Blake Buchanan at Size House of Trivia, we looked right up and saw the 2000 Elite Eight banner that's hanging up there. And I shared with him that you have been encouraging all season long that records are meant to be broken, that you were really hoping to see this team up there hanging up from the banners. And he said he agrees that if, Joshua Jefferson had not twisted that ankle on just a routine play, that they felt like that they were on their way to even better than the Elite Eight. So just talking with him, you can tell that fire is still there. And that could be really strong motivation for these players throughout the summer and setting the stage for the new guys coming in of, here's our expectation moving forward for next year, get on the bus, because that's where we're going. So I thought that was cool to see.
Yeah, we started the season off on fire, ran off the, winning streak that we had. Not necessarily saying that I hope for adversity to happen, but I know how the Big 12 is. And it was good. I think we were going into the tournament with a different mentality and a different body of work to go through the losses and stuff that we have. Of course, we would have rather the wins and to win the Big 12 and all of that. But I like man, when Josh laid that ball up and he twisted his ankle, I got up and walked because I just knew then. Like, you talking about being defeated. It was almost as, even though I was personally there, but, the play that we had, the offensive foul that changed the dynamic for us against Michigan State. It was that because I knew as much, you see the replay, you see how it turned over. I'm an athlete. I know that thing is going to balloon up, that the bone bruising in there. KD is out right now, from twisting his ankle and the bone bruising. And I just knew it was just going to change everything. And that's how it occurred. Were we better than Tennessee with Josh? Absolutely, because we were just one of the better teams. So it's taking that into the tournament, grinding it out, just win after win, weekend after weekend. I was excited, and when that happened, I was just somebody just kicked me in the gut.
So others that were at our table, of course, I mentioned Jamie Pollard, Bill Marsal. Jamie Steyer Johnson was there, so she does color for the women's game on radio. And if you've ever had a chance to listen to the women's game, she's very passionate about the refereeing and what goes on in the game. And so she's like that in real life. We had so much fun with her, and I think we saw her for round 3. And she was one that said, I'm not very good at this. And then boom, she starts right off the bat and scores 2 points for us. So it was fun to have her there. Walking around, we saw Jimmy Rogers and Kevin Dresser, and we haven't even, shared the news on that, but Obviously, the Iowa State wrestling program is now being expanded. So there's now a women's program that will start in 2027, which being Iowa is such a heavy wrestling state. The University of Iowa, I think they started their wrestling program 2 years ago. So we're now one of about 9 teams in the country with a women's wrestling program. So it's probably due for that and makes some sense. Feel bad, obviously, for the gymnastics program. We had, we kind of beat that bush several times previously. Saw John Walters, Trey Verdon, all sorts of Xavier Mitchell from the men's basketball team. So a lot of players there, which I should say too, Blake Buchanan said Xavier Mitchell's probably going to get a lot of playing time next year. So for what that's worth, a little insider news that Xavier Mitchell sounds like he's a real dog. And if memory serves me, I think he was Wisconsin's Mr. Basketball coming out of high school. So he's got some game to him. So
we've had some pretty good players that come from the state of Wisconsin that did well for the Cyclones. So hopefully we'll get that same kind of fire.
Yeah. All right, Marcus, I think that's it. We're sorry to have missed Brent, but I guess I understand he's at a draft party. He can't really turn that down, right?
Yeah, it's good times. I know he's excited for the young fella. These are life-changing moments, and a lot come at you. Like, it can pass you by so fast because time goes by so fast, and this whole process is one that you want to try to take in and relish. Not everybody get the opportunity to be a part of it, so when you're able to be a part of it, definitely, do everything that you can to suck in the moments, because before you know it, we're going on 26 years later since it had occurred for me, and time goes by fast.
You're right. I mean, it feels like yesterday, doesn't it? In 2000, it literally feels like yesterday. And here you've been retired for how long?
Since 11 years. Going on 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. My daughter in London is turning 11 in a couple weeks, and the year she was born was the last year that I decided to play. So it can go by fast. I remember early on my rookie I think it was my rookie year. We went on the Players Association trip, and I just remember, it was the first time I met Willis Reed and Bill Walton and those guys, and just remembering how old those guys were to me. And they weren't necessarily that old, but in terms of playing and everything like that, they had been out for a while. But they're not far away from the age that I am now at that time. And it's like, man.
But those are guys that you grew up watching, or you knew a lot about the history about,
all of that. Like, it's just one of the things I say, and I get into it with people all the time. I am on social media, but people want to now. One of the things we always say as athletes, period, longevity. Now people want to talk about LeBron is so great because he's played so long. Everybody wanted to play so long. Tom Brady played into his 40s and won the championship in his 40s because everybody wants to play long. That's the thing that you want to do. And I just remember, like, man, if I can get 15 to 20 years out of this thing, and now LeBron is on year 23, it's like, damn, to be able to do that, is amazing. But the time goes by so fast. It goes by so fast.
LeBron hit that shot the other night to put him in. Well, first he got the steal.
Mm-hmm.
That was just that was typical LeBron James.
When I saw Reed and LeBron played against his dad, and Jabari Smith Jr. played against his dad. But when I saw him bait, him guarding or whatever, and bait him to pass him, he gonna back tap that. I knew he was gonna back tap that as soon as he got by him and that hand was up high enough. He tipped it out. Once that occurred, pass the ball, run around. This shot is going in.
But he has to put himself in that position. He has to make the play, and then he has to make the shot. He reminds you of why he's LeBron James. Just like Michael Jordan would always remind you that he is Michael Jordan and no one was better than him.
But like you said, you got to make that shot.
Yeah.
You have to make the plays. I don't care how long you play. You got guys that play for 20 years plus that don't have as many points. You have to physically be out there, and then they do all of the steroid allegations, whatever. And I tell them all the time, there's no PEDs in our league. If Paul George just got popped for taking medication, the random drug tests are what the random drug tests are, and you either got it in your system or you don't. So even if someone is on PEDs or whatever the case may be, you still got to go out and physically make the plays, like you said, and make the shots. PEDs don't make you do that. Kobe, PEDs didn't make him do what he did, when he was a player. So it's just, a great thing to see and to take in that he's able to be out on the court with his son.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the fact that he's in season 23 or whatever it is, 22, 3, 4, he's still out there competing at such a high level. And we've seen him. He's carried teams to the finals. He carried and won the Cavaliers. And really, he threw everybody on his back and said, let's do this.
For many years.
He's doing that now this year with Luka out, at least in this first round. He's reminding everybody that, again, he is LeBron James.
I've been saying he's been stalling all year. He's been coasting. I told them he's been coasting all year. Of course, we would rather Luka and Austin Reeves to be playing, but without them playing, now he's able to turn it up and kicking it. I literally think he's going to draw out at least 3 more years because he's not even playing at a fall off level. Yeah, I mean, if you're averaging 25, 5, and 5, it's not even. We're talking about he can be around to average 10.5, 15 points. We don't know what's going to happen with Bryce yet. He hasn't played a season really at Arizona, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But if he's able to construct where he has look at Bronny freshman season. So if he's able to have an okay season and get both of his, who to think LeBron is not going to do that? And if he's at that fall off level, okay, now I'm going to go back to the land and take both of my boys with me. That's going to sell so many tickets is ridiculous. Oh, yeah. I think he's going to at least get 3 more years out of it because this year's almost over. He plays at a semi-high level next year, depending on how they do here. But if you give him 2 fall-off years, just to be around, who's not going to sign LeBron James to even if it's a league minimum? I mean, he's a billionaire at this point. So even if he signed for a league minimum to be a part of a team, to have him and his 2 sons on the team, he's going to do it.
So, being a Lakers fan, I saw Kareem. He had that fall off. Do you think LeBron James, because he's still got that dog in him, do you think that he would allow himself to play in 1 fall off season, much less 2?
I think so.
Really?
I think so. If it's going to be where he's able to play with his sons. So Kareem had the fall off years playing in the years in the era where basketball was damn near football. That's not what this league is anymore. It's about scoring points. It's about keeping the players on the floor. The money is so much higher. Guys can hang around the league because the league minimums are higher than what has ever been, or the vet minimums are higher than what has ever been. Before where the vet minimum was like 1.5 or 2 million, and you go overseas and make $2 or $3 million, players will go overseas. Well, if you make $3 million as a vet minimum sitting on the bench here, why not stay in the United States? So it's a lot easier now, a lot run the gun and shoot. And if he's able to stay around, he's going to be able to do it.
I think it'd be cool to see. Whether it's
going to be cool to see.
I don't know if it's in LA or you think he finishes in Cleveland though?
I think he does. I think for LeBron, he does. Once it, AR has become a star in LA. He's up for a bigger deal, even though he just signed a nice deal a couple years ago. Been an undrafted player. Luka definitely going to be there. They need to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton disappoints me.
Yeah.
Like, he really, really disappoints me, especially for a number 1 overall pick. They a lot of people talk about Michael Olowokandi and like, he is,
he's better.
I think
than
Anthony
that.
Bennett, huh?
He's better than Olowokandi,
I
I think.
As a player, he should be. As a player out on his floor, he doesn't give that at all. And I was a fan of his at Arizona, and when he got drafted by Phoenix, and I thought he was going to be. You see him out here like now, he can guard me right now if I got on the floor. Like, he is just that disappointing to me. So I think they're going to move him. You know, I can see them moving him and some other players, you know, trying to get Giannis. And once, you know, all that happened, LeBron could definitely, you know, move out and go somewhere else and go from there. But Giannis is definitely leaving. Giannis is definitely leaving Milwaukee this year. So where he lands, who knows? I can't believe Golden State hadn't grabbed him. Surprised it's San Antonio or the Rockets didn't over this year. But if LA becomes a landing spot for him with Luka gonna average 15 assists.
Yeah, it's going to be a blockbuster trade when that goes through.
I mean, LA has done it.
Yes, they have. I'm sure they'll do it again. All right, Marcus,
Yes,
it's good to see you, my friend. Thanks
You
everyone
too, bro.
for joining us. It's been an absolute privilege to have everyone on. I think we got to figure out what we're doing moving forward with the summer schedule or what that looks like. I know that Chris has talked a little bit about doing some different events in and around town, so we be on the lookout for some of that. Thank you to Revelton Distilling Company and Iowa Beef Steakhouse. Obviously, our studio sponsor, Andrew Downs and AKC Marketing, as always. The great Julia Bradshaw and Style by JJ Boutique. That reminds me, with Mother's Day coming up, I better get in there. And then, obviously, the official realtor of the show, Jenny Farrell, with Remax, and Creasman Foods, who sponsors our We Will Pizza Performer of the Week. So, thanks, everyone, for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Go Cyclones.
Cyclones.
There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. CYCLONES, Cyclone Nation.